The morning sun painted the rice fields of Yangsan village in golden light. Hana Kim knelt between the green stalks, her hands deep in the rich earth. She pulled weeds with careful movements, the same precision she once used to handle uranium rods. That was 10 years ago, before the global peace accords, before she traded her lab coat for farming clothes. "Sister, breakfast is ready," called Minho from the wooden house at the field's edge. Her younger brother stood on the porch, steam rising from the bowl in his hands. At 25, he had never known war like she had. His world was rice and vegetables, morning chores and evening stories with their grandfather. Hana stood and brushed dirt from her knees. The village spread below her, 50 families living in houses their grandfathers had built. Smoke curled from chimneys. Children played in the dirt roads. Mrs. Sunmi hung laundry on her line, humming an old song. "Coming," Hana called back. She walked toward home, her boots crunching on the gravel path. This was peace. This was what she had given up everything to protect. Inside the house, her grandfather Taisu sat at the low table, already eating his rice. His hands shook slightly as he lifted the spoon. 83 years old, he had survived the Japanese occupation, the Korean War, and the alien contact wars. He often said he had seen enough violence for 10 lifetimes. "The radio says more ships are coming," Taisu said without looking up. "Trading. Ships from the outer colonies." Hana poured tea for herself. "Good, we need the medical supplies." "You worry too much about supplies," Minho laughed. "We have everything we need right here." Hana did not answer. She had spent too many years calculating worst-case scenarios to stop now. In her bedroom closet, hidden behind winter clothes, sat a small emergency kit. Inside were things that did not belong in a farming village: communication devices, energy cells, chemical compounds that could do things she tried not to think about. The morning passed quietly. Hana worked in the fields while Minho tended their small garden. Grandfather sat in his chair watching the children play in the village square. The radio played soft music from Seoul. At noon, the sky changed. Hana saw it first, a shadow passing over the sun. She looked up, shading her eyes with her hand. 3 dark shapes moved across the blue sky, too large to be aircraft, too fast to be clouds. "Minho!" she called. Her voice was calm, but something cold moved in her chest. "Come here." Her brother jogged over, still carrying a basket of tomatoes. He looked where she pointed and his face went pale. The ships were massive, each one the size of a city block. Their hulls were black metal that seemed to eat the sunlight. They made no sound as they descended, like falling stones in a dream. "Get grandfather," Hana said quietly. "Take him to the root cellar." "Sister, what are they?" "Now, Minho." He dropped the basket and ran toward the house. Tomatoes scattered across the ground, red as blood in the dirt. Hana stood frozen in the field, her mind racing through possibilities. These were not human ships. The hull design was wrong, the movement too smooth. Trading vessels from the outer colonies did not look like this. Did not move like this. The first ship stopped above the village center. A section of its belly opened like a mouth. Light poured out. Not the warm yellow of sunlight, but something cold and blue that made her skin crawl. The other villagers had noticed now. People came out of their houses, pointing and talking. Some children clapped, thinking it was some kind of show. "Everyone get inside," Hana shouted, but her voice was lost in the distance. She started running toward the village, her boots slipping on the wet earth between the rice paddies. The first beam struck Mrs. Sunmi's house. The building simply vanished. One moment it was there, wooden walls and clay roof tiles, and the next moment there was nothing but ash and smoke. Mrs. Sunmi had been standing in her garden, looking up with wonder at the ships. She was gone. Hana stopped running. Her legs would not move. Around the village, more beams fell from the sky. Each one erased a piece of her world. The school where she had taught children about science. The temple where her parents were buried. The store where Mr. Jinwoo sold rice and vegetables. People screamed now. They ran in all directions, but there was nowhere to go. The beams followed them, patient and thorough. From the house came Minho's voice, high and desperate. "Sister, help me. Grandfather won't move." Hana forced her legs to work. She ran toward home, jumping over the irrigation ditches, her heart pounding against her ribs. Behind her, the village burned with light that was not fire. She burst through the front door. Minho knelt beside grandfather's chair, trying to lift the old man's arm. "I am not running," Tai-Su said. His voice was steady, like stone. "I am too old to run from another war." "Grandfather, please," Minho begged. Hana looked out the window. The ships had moved closer. She could see details now, symbols carved into their hulls, weapons that tracked movement below. In her mind, she calculated angles and distances. The root cellar would not save them. Nothing in this village could save them. "You go," Tai-Su said to his grandchildren. "Take the mountain path, get to Seoul." "We don't leave family," Hana said. The old man smiled. "Then we face this together." A shadow fell across their house. Through the window, blue light began to gather. Hana grabbed Minho's hand and pulled him behind the kitchen table. It was made of thick oak. Her grandfather's father had built it to last. Maybe it would be enough. The light filled the world. When Hana opened her eyes, half the house was gone. The roof had vanished. One wall stood at a crazy angle, black at the edges. Grandfather's chair was empty, only a pile of ash where he had been sitting. Minho lay beside her, breathing but not moving. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. She shook him gently. Minho, wake up." His eyes opened. "Sister, where is grandfather?" Hana looked at the ash pile and said nothing. Outside, the village was quiet now. The ships hung in the air like sleeping birds. Nothing moved in the streets below. The attack had lasted maybe 10 minutes, 50 families, 200 people. Gone. Hana stood slowly. Her legs shook, but they held her weight. She walked to what remained of the front door and looked out at the destruction. The ships were leaving now, rising back toward the stars. Their work was finished. They had sent their message, whatever that message was meant to be. In the silence that followed, Hana Kim began to smile. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone remembering exactly how to build things that could turn mountains into glass. The smile of someone who had spent 10 years pretending to be a farmer, but had never forgotten the weight of plutonium in her hands. The aliens had made a mistake. They had left her alive, standing in the ashes of everything she loved. Hana Kim began to plan. 3 days after the burning, Hana walked through the ruins of Yangsan village. Her boots crunched on broken glass and ash. The morning air still smelled of smoke, though no fires burned anymore. There was nothing left to burn. She carried a small notebook and pencil, writing down numbers as she moved from house to house. Not numbers of the dead, though she knew those by heart. 203 people had lived in this village. Now only she and Minho remained. The numbers she wrote were different. The weight of metal in the destroyed cars, the chemical composition of the ash piles, the exact temperature needed to turn wood and stone into dust. She walked like a scientist collecting data, not like someone who had lost everything. Behind her, Minho sat on a broken wall staring at nothing. He had not spoken since yesterday. Sometimes he called out for grandfather, forgetting the old man was gone. Hana let him grieve. She had work to do. "The foundation of the school is intact," she wrote in her notebook. "Concrete mixed with local stone. Reinforcement bars still straight. Temperature of attack approximately 3,000 degrees Celsius." She looked up at the sky. Clear blue, no clouds. Perfect flying weather. The aliens would be back. She was certain of this. They had destroyed one village to send a message, but messages meant nothing if no one heard them. They would return to see what the humans did next. The sound of helicopters came from the south. Hana closed her notebook and walked back to where Minho sat. She helped him stand, brushing dust from his clothes. "Rescue teams," she said gently. "We need to look like survivors, not like we are planning something." 3 helicopters landed in what used to be the village square. Soldiers jumped out, followed by medical teams and officials in clean suits. They moved carefully through the ruins, taking pictures and measurements. A tall man in a military uniform approached them. His name tag said, Captain Park Jiwon. He looked tired, like he had been flying to destroyed villages for many days. "Are you the only survivors?" he asked. "Yes," Hana answered. "My brother and I were in our house when it happened. We hid under a table," Captain Park wrote in his own notebook. "We need to get you to Seoul. Medical treatment, somewhere safe to stay." "That is very kind," Hana said. Her smile was small and polite. "But we would like to stay a little longer, to say goodbye, properly. Ma'am, this area is not safe. The aliens might return." "I understand. Just one more day, please." The captain looked around at the destroyed village, then at Hana's calm face. Something in her expression made him uncomfortable, though he could not say why. "One day," he agreed. "We will leave a communication radio. If you see anything, call immediately." After the helicopters left, Hana went to work. She walked to the remains of her house and dug through the rubble until she found what she was looking for. Her emergency kit had survived, protected by the lead lining she had built into the floor years ago. Inside were things that did not belong in a farming village: a quantum communication device, military grade, chemical analysis tools, and something else wrapped in cloth like a precious gift. She unwrapped it carefully. The device was small, about the size of her hand, made of metal that seemed to drink the light around it. She had built it 10 years ago, during her last week at the weapons laboratory. Insurance, she had called it then. A way to contact certain people if the world ever went wrong again. The world had gone very wrong. Hana activated the device. It hummed quietly, reaching out across space to find signals from places that officially did not exist. After a few minutes, a voice answered. "This is Blackbird Station. Identify yourself." "Phoenix 7, Hana said. "Authorization code. Fire. From heaven." A long pause. Then, "Phoenix 7, you are listed as retired. This channel is for active personnel only." "My village is gone," Hana said. "Everyone is dead. I need to speak to the doctor." Another pause, longer than the first. "Stand by." 5 minutes later, a different voice came through the device. Older, with the careful pronunciation of someone who had spent years explaining complex ideas. "Hana, I heard about Yangsan on the news. I am sorry." "Hello, Dr. Lee," Hana said to the man who had once been her research partner. "I need a favor." "What kind of favor?" "The kind that glows in the dark." Dr. Lee Dong-hyuk was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was very careful. "Those projects were all destroyed. You know this." "Were they?" "Officially, yes. And unofficially." "Hana, what are you planning?" She looked around at the ruins of her home, at her brother sitting in the ashes of their grandfather's chair. Her smile grew a little wider. "I am planning to teach our visitors about human hospitality," she said. That evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Hana heard the sound of engines in the sky. Not helicopters this time. Something else. She shook Minho awake. "They are coming back." Her brother looked up with dull eyes. "Who?" "The ones who did this." 3 ships descended from the darkening sky, the same black vessels that had destroyed the village. They moved slowly now, scanning the ruins with beams of light, looking for something. Hana stood in the center of the destroyed square, her hands empty, her face turned up toward the ships. The smile never left her lips. The largest ship landed 50 meters away. Its landing legs crushed the remains of the bakery where she had bought bread every morning for 10 years. A section of the hull opened, and figures emerged. They were not human. Tall, thin, with skin like gray leather and eyes that reflected light like a cat's. They wore armor that hummed with power and carried weapons that bent the air around them. The leader approached Hana. When it spoke, its voice came from a device on its chest translating alien words into Korean. You, human, you survived the cleansing. Yes, Hana said. Her smile grew brighter. I am very lucky. Why do you not run? Why do you not fear? Hana tilted her head, studying the alien like a curious student. Should I fear you? You have already taken everything I cared about. What else can you do to me? The alien leader made a sound that might have been laughter. We can take your life. Everyone dies eventually, Hana said. But not everyone gets to meet beings from another world. This is fascinating. Your weapons, your ships, your technology. I am a scientist, you see. Or I was, before I became a farmer. She took a step closer to the alien. How does your plasma system work? The energy conversion rate must be incredible to generate that much heat. The alien looked confused. It had expected screaming, begging, maybe an attempt to fight. It had not expected a lecture request. You are strange, human. I am curious, Hana corrected. Would you mind if I looked at your ship? I promise I will not touch anything important. Behind the leader, other aliens made clicking sounds. In their language, they were saying this human was broken, probably mad from grief. The leader decided this could be amusing. You may look, it said, but you will come with us when we leave. You will see our empire, and you will understand why resistance is futile. Hana's smile became radiant like sunrise over the mountains. I would love that, she said. Thank you so much for the invitation. As she followed the aliens toward their ship, her hand touched the small device hidden in her pocket. The signal it sent was brief, just a few coded numbers. But those numbers told certain people in certain places that Project Phoenix was no longer retired. The aliens thought they had found a broken human to use as a pet. They had no idea they had just invited death itself aboard their ship. The inside of the alien ship was like nothing Hana had ever seen. The walls curved in impossible ways and lights moved beneath the surface like living things. The air tasted of metal and something else, something that reminded her of lightning. Commander, Thek led her through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Other aliens stopped their work to stare at her. Some made clicking sounds that her translator device said were expressions of curiosity. Others showed their teeth, which she learned meant amusement. You are the first human to see a Valak warship from the inside, Thek said. His translated voice carried pride. Most of your species only see our ships from below, just before they die. I feel very honored, Hana replied, her smile never wavering. How many ships do you have? More than your primitive mind could count. Hana nodded as if impressed, but her scientist brain was already working. She counted weapon ports as they passed viewports. She memorized the layout of each deck they visited. She noticed how the gravity felt lighter near the ship's center, heavier near the outer hull. Most importantly, she studied the power conduits that ran along every corridor. The energy patterns reminded her of fusion reactors, but the containment system was different, more efficient but also more delicate. One small disruption in the right place could cause a cascade failure. Thek brought her to a small room with a window that looked out into space. This will be your quarters, he said. You will stay here when we travel to the homeworld. Homeworld, Hana repeated. How wonderful. How many people live there? 2.3 billion Velak call Zephyros home, Thek said. The greatest city in the galaxy. You will see why resistance to our empire is pointless. Hana's smile grew brighter. 2.3 billion. She filed that number away with all the others she was collecting. Over the next few days, Hana became the ship's most popular passenger. She asked endless questions about everything. How did their weapons work? How fast could their ships travel? How many worlds had they conquered? The aliens loved having someone who appreciated their superiority. They showed off their technology, like proud children. They explained their battle tactics. They even let her help with minor repairs, amazed at how quickly she learned their systems. Your species has potential, said Engineer Vex as Hana helped him calibrate a power coupling. Too bad you are all so weak and primitive. We do our best, Hana said humbly. Though I wonder, how do you keep the power cores stable during combat? The energy fluctuations must be enormous, Vex puffed up with pride. The containment matrix automatically adjusts for stress. It has never failed. Never? Well, only if someone introduced specific neutron bombardment at exactly the right frequency. But that would require precise knowledge of our technology, which no alien species possesses. Of course not, Hana agreed. That would be impossible. Later, alone in her quarters, Hana activated her hidden communication device. She sent a message using a code that looked like mathematical equations about stellar navigation. To anyone watching, she was just a curious human doing calculations about their journey. But the message reached Dr. Lee Dong-hyuk in his secret laboratory beneath Seoul. It told him everything he needed to know about Valak ship design, power systems, and exactly how to make them explode. The ship's journey to the homeworld took 2 weeks. During that time, Hana made friends with everyone, from janitors to officers. She learned their language, their customs, their weaknesses. She cooked human food for them, teaching them recipes that required specific ingredients from the ship's stores. What the aliens did not know was that those ingredients, when combined in the right amounts, created chemical compounds that would slowly weaken their immune systems. Nothing immediately dangerous, just enough to make them slightly more vulnerable to radiation exposure. She also volunteered to help improve their computer systems. Human programming techniques might offer new perspectives, she suggested. The aliens, always eager to show their superiority, let her access their networks to see how primitive human methods compared to their advanced systems. Hana spent hours studying their computers, learning how information flowed through their ship and their empire. She identified the communication protocols they used to contact other vessels. She mapped their defensive networks. She found the back doors that would let her access any system on any ship. And in every system she touched, she left something behind. A small piece of code that looked like a harmless optimization routine. The aliens' own computer security system saw nothing wrong with it. Why would they suspect a primitive human of sabotage? You are quite helpful, Commander Thek told her, one evening as they shared a meal. Perhaps when we conquer your world, we will keep more humans alive, as servants, of course. You are too kind, Hana said. When will that happen, if you don't mind me asking? Soon. Our fleet is already gathering. 5,000 ships will descend on Earth within the month. Your governments will surrender immediately when they see our power. 5,000 ships? Hana repeated as if amazed by the number. Your empire must be truly vast. 12 worlds bow to Valak authority, Thek boasted. Trillions of beings serve our empire. Your Earth will be the 13th world to join us. Hana's smile could have powered the ship's engines. I look forward to seeing your beautiful homeworld before that happens. On the final day of their journey, Hana stood at the observation deck and watched Zephyros grow larger in the view screen. The planet was covered in massive cities that floated above a toxic atmosphere. Millions of ships moved between orbital stations, like metal insects. It was magnificent. It was the center of an empire that ruled dozens of star systems. It was home to billions of intelligent beings who had never known defeat. It was also the perfect target. Impressive, isn't it? Thek asked, joining her at the window. Beyond words, Hana said honestly. I have never seen anything so beautiful. This is why resistance is futile. This is why your species will kneel before the Valak Empire. Hana nodded, still smiling. In her pocket, her communication device sent a final coded message to Earth. 3 simple words that would set everything in motion. Package delivered. Smile. Far away on Earth, Dr. Lee Dong-hyuk received the message and began the final preparations. Professor Kim Yeona started the launch sequence for a very special cargo ship, and deep in hidden bunkers, weapons that had been sleeping for 10 years began to wake up. The aliens had shown Hana their homeworld, their fleet, their empire. They had given her access to their technology and their secrets. They had even told her exactly when they planned to attack Earth. They thought they were showing a broken human the futility of resistance. Instead, they had given her everything. She needed to destroy them all. As the ship descended toward the gleaming cities of Zephyros, Hana Kim continued to smile. Soon, very soon, the Velok Empire would learn what happened when they burned down a human's home. They would learn why some gifts should never be opened. And they would learn why the human wearing the brightest smile was always the most dangerous one in the room. The homecoming was about to begin. The floating cities of Zephyros hung in the sky like jewels made of metal and light. Hana pressed her face to the viewport as their ship descended through the toxic clouds. Each city was larger than Seoul, connected to others by bridges that sparkled with energy. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Commander Thek said beside her. "This is what civilization looks like when a species reaches true greatness." "It takes my breath away," Hana said, and she meant it. The engineering required to build cities in a poisonous atmosphere was incredible. The power systems alone must consume the output of multiple fusion reactors, which meant there were multiple fusion reactors to overload. Their ship docked at the Central Command Nexus, a massive station that floated at the heart of the city cluster. Hana could see thousands of other ships coming and going, like bees around a hive. The station was so large it had its own weather systems, with clouds forming around its upper levels. "This is where the High Command makes decisions for the entire empire," Thek explained as they walked through corridors wider than highways. "Every ship, every planet, every conquered species is controlled from here." "How many people work here?" Hana asked. 50 million Velok maintain operations on this station alone. 50 million. Hana's smile grew warmer. She had been wondering how to maximize the symbolic impact of her gift. Now she knew. The next few days passed like a wonderful dream. The aliens gave her tours of everything. They showed her the war rooms where they planned conquests. They took her to the weapons testing facilities where they perfected new ways to destroy cities. They even brought her to the communication centers where they coordinated with their fleets across the galaxy. Everywhere she went, Hana asked innocent questions and offered helpful suggestions. She pointed out small improvements to their targeting systems. She suggested better ways to organize their supply networks. She even helped them optimize their power distribution grids. The aliens were delighted with their pet human. She understood their greatness and wanted to help make them even greater. They began to trust her completely. What they did not see was the small device she carried, no larger than a coin, that she pressed against computer terminals when no one was looking. Each touch uploaded her hidden programs deeper into their systems. Programs that would lie dormant until she gave them the signal to wake up. On the fourth day, High Admiral Korvek summoned her to the command center. He was the largest Velok she had seen, with scars across his gray skin and eyes like burning coals. His uniform carried the symbols of 100 conquered worlds. "So you are the human who appreciates our empire," he said. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "I am honored to meet you, Admiral," Hana replied with a respectful bow. "Your achievements are legendary." "Indeed they are. Commander Thek tells me you have been helpful during your stay. I try to contribute where I can. Your technology is so advanced, but sometimes an outside perspective can spot small improvements." Korvek studied her with those burning eyes. "Tell me, human, when our fleets arrive at your world, will your government surrender immediately? Or will they force us to demonstrate our power first?" Hana tilted her head, pretending to think carefully. "I believe they will surrender. Once they see what happened to my village, what happened to me, they will understand that resistance is pointless." "And what happened to you?" "You showed me the truth," Hana said, her smile radiant. "You showed me that humanity's time is over, that we must accept our place as servants to a greater species. I am grateful for this lesson." The Admiral made a sound that might have been approval. "Good. Then you will help us prepare for the conquest. You will record messages telling your people to submit peacefully." "Of course," Hana agreed. "Anything to prevent unnecessary suffering." That night, alone in her quarters, Hana sent her most important message yet. It was disguised as a poem about missing home, but Dr. Lee understood every word. The coordinates of the Central Command Nexus, the timing of the invasion fleet, the exact specifications needed to turn their power grid into a weapon, and one more thing. A request for her special package to be delivered exactly 24 hours from now. The next morning, alerts began sounding throughout the station. A human ship had appeared at the edge of the system, broadcasting surrender codes and requesting permission to dock. "Your government moves quickly," Thek commented as they watched the small vessel approach on the command center's main screen. "They are wise," Hana said. "They know when they are beaten." The ship was tiny compared to the Valak vessels around it, barely larger than a city bus. Its hull was painted white with symbols of peace. Its communication arrays broadcast messages of submission in dozens of languages. "What is their cargo?" Admiral Korvex demanded. "Cultural artifacts, sir," came the reply from the docking controller. "Art, music, scientific instruments. They say it is tribute from Earth, gifts to honor the new rulers of humanity." Korvex laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "How pathetic. They think primitive trinkets will buy them mercy." "Should we deny them permission to dock?" asked an officer. "No. Let them come. I want to see what Earth considers valuable enough to offer as tribute." Hana watched the human ship dock with the station. Her hands were steady, but her heart raced like a hummingbird's wings. Everything depended on the next few hours. The cargo. Bay doors opened and a small group of humans emerged. They wore simple clothes and carried themselves like defeated people. Their leader was a woman about Hana's age, with tears on her cheeks and fear in her eyes. Perfect acting, Hana thought. Professor Kim Yona had always been good at playing roles. The humans wheeled out their cargo on simple metal carts. Sculptures made of crystal and metal. Musical instruments from Earth's greatest composers. Scientific devices that demonstrated human knowledge of physics and chemistry, and one large piece carefully wrapped in silk that they claimed was the greatest treasure of all. "This is the heart of human achievement," Professor Kim told the Velak officials through her translator, "our most precious artifact. We offer it to show our complete surrender to your empire." The wrapped sculpture was beautiful, Hana had to admit. It looked like a crystalline flower made of some unknown material that seemed to glow with inner light. The humans handled it with reverence as if it were made of glass. The Velak officials were impressed despite themselves. The sculpture was clearly the work of master artists, even if they were primitive humans. "Place it in the main ceremonial hall," Admiral Korvex ordered. "All the High Command will want to see this symbol of Earth's submission." As the humans wheeled their gift toward the heart of the station, Hana felt her smile grow so wide it almost hurt her face. In 12 hours, when the ceremonial unveiling began, the entire Velak leadership would gather in one room to admire humanity's greatest treasure. They had no idea they were looking at 50 megatons of thermonuclear fury, wrapped in silk and hidden inside a work of art. The gift had been delivered. Now all that remained was to open it. Hana looked around at the aliens who had shown her such kindness, who had given her access to their most precious secrets, who trusted her completely. "Thank you," she whispered, so quietly that only she could hear. "Thank you for making this so easy. Tomorrow, the Velak Empire would receive the best gift humanity had to offer, and it would be the last gift they ever received." The ceremonial hall of the Central Command Nexus could hold 10,000 beings. Today, it was packed with the most important Velak in the Empire. Admirals, generals, governors from conquered worlds, and scientists who had built the weapons that destroyed planets. All of them had come to see Earth's surrender gift. Hana stood beside Commander Thek on the observation balcony, looking down at the gathering crowd. The wrapped sculpture sat in the center of the hall like a sleeping giant. Spotlights made the silk covering shimmer like water. "Your people chose well," Thek said. "This ceremony will be broadcast across the Empire. Every conquered species will see how completely Earth has submitted. I hope it brings peace," Hana replied. Her smile was brighter than the spotlights. High Admiral Korvex walked to the podium. His voice boomed through speakers that carried his words to every corner of the station and out to the fleet beyond. "Today marks the final victory of the Velak Empire," he began. The species called humans has recognized our superiority and offers tribute to their new masters. The crowd cheered, a sound like breaking metal. Hana felt the vibration through the floor and walls. 50 million beings on this station alone, all celebrating humanity's defeat. Let us unveil this symbol of their surrender. Korvax continued. He gestured to the wrapped sculpture. Behold the heart of human achievement. Velak soldiers stepped forward and began removing the silk covering. Layer after layer fell away, revealing the crystalline structure beneath. It was beautiful, Hana had to admit. Professor Kim and her team had done excellent work. The sculpture looked like a flower made of light, with delicate petals that seemed to pulse with inner fire. At its center was a sphere of perfect crystal that reflected the lights around it, like a captured star. The crowd fell silent in appreciation. Even these conquerors could recognize artistry when they saw it. Magnificent, whispered Thek. Your species may be primitive, but you have some skill in art. Thank you, Hana said. We put our hearts into everything we create. Admiral Korvax moved closer to examine the sculpture. Other high-ranking officials gathered around, pointing and discussing the craftsmanship. Scientists took readings with their instruments, marveling at the unknown materials. None of them noticed the small timer hidden inside the crystal sphere. None of them saw the microscopic numbers counting down toward 0. Hana checked her watch. Noon Velak time was still 5 minutes away. She activated her hidden communication device one last time. The message was simple. Grandfather sends his regards. Across the Empire, on 12 different worlds, her sleeping programs received the signal and began to wake up. In weapons factories and power plants, in space stations and military bases, small changes began to happen. Safety systems developed glitches. Containment fields started to fluctuate. Automated defenses began targeting their own ships. The changes were tiny at first, easy to ignore. The Velak had built their empire on the belief that their technology was perfect, their systems unbreakable. They trusted their machines more than they trusted each other. That trust was about to kill them all. 3 minutes, Hana whispered to herself. Below in the ceremonial hall, Admiral Korvax was giving another speech about the glory of conquest. He spoke of the invasion fleet that would soon depart for Earth, of the cities that would burn, of the humans who would serve as slaves. The species that calls itself humanity will learn what all conquered peoples learn, he declared. That resistance to the Velak Empire is not just futile, it is impossible. No force in the galaxy can stand against us. Hana's smile could have powered a sun. 2 minutes. Around the Empire, the cascade failures were accelerating. Power grids overloaded as her programs forced them to channel more energy than they could handle. Starships lost navigation as their computers began following hidden commands instead of their pilots' orders. Military installations started destroying themselves as their own defense systems turned inward. The Velak had connected everything to make their empire efficient. Now that connection would destroy them. 1 minute. In the ceremonial hall, some officials were starting to notice problems. Alert messages appeared on their personal communicators. Reports of strange malfunctions across multiple systems, but they were too distracted by the ceremony to pay attention. Admiral Korvax was concluding his speech. Let this gift from Earth remind us that the Velak Empire is eternal, that our dominion will last until the stars grow cold. 30 seconds. Hana breathed. She looked around at all the aliens who had been so kind to her, who had shown her their technology and their secrets, who had trusted her completely because they could not imagine a primitive human being dangerous. Commander Thek noticed her expression. Are you crying, human? Are you overcome by the honor of this moment? Something like that, Hana said. Tears were running down her cheeks, but she was still smiling. I am thinking of my grandfather. He would have loved to see this. 10 seconds. The crystal sphere in the heart of the sculpture began to glow brighter. Just a small change, barely noticeable among all the other lights in the hall. 5 seconds. Admiral. Korvax reached out to touch the beautiful gift from Earth, wanting to feel the texture of the unknown crystal. 3, 2, 1. At exactly noon Velak time, The heart of human achievement opened like a flower. The thermonuclear blast vaporized the ceremonial hall in the first microsecond. The shockwave tore through the central command nexus like tissue paper. 50 million beings became light and heat and memory. But that was just the beginning. The explosion triggered every sabotage program Hana had planted throughout their systems. Across the station, power cores overloaded in sequence. The containment, fields holding the floating cities together, collapsed. The orbital platforms lost their gravity generators and fell into the toxic atmosphere below. And throughout the Empire, on 12 worlds and 10,000 ships, the cascade continued. Every piece of technology that Hana had touched, every system she had helped improve, every network she had accessed, turned against its creators. The Velak Empire died in fire and light, destroyed by their own perfection, killed by their own trust in a smiling human who had never forgotten how to build things that could turn worlds into stars. Hana died with them, of course. She had always known she would not survive this. But as the light consumed her, she thought of her grandfather's words. When someone burns down your home, proper etiquette demands you return the favor. She had returned it with interest. The explosion could be seen from neighboring star systems. 12 worlds burning at once, their light visible across the galaxy. It was beautiful, in its way. A funeral pyre for an empire that had forgotten that the most dangerous enemy is the one who has nothing left to lose. In the end, the Velak learned what every bully eventually learns. Sometimes the quiet ones are quiet because they are busy calculating exactly how much force is needed to solve the problem permanently. And sometimes when someone offers you a gift with a smile, the smart thing to do is politely decline. The galaxy was quiet after that. Other empires heard what had happened to the Velak and decided that perhaps Earth was not such an easy target after all. Perhaps humans were not as primitive as they appeared. Perhaps it was better to leave the smiling apes alone. On Earth, they built a monument to Hana Kim in the place where Yangsan village used to stand. The inscription was simple. She kept her promise. And in the farms and cities of humanity, when children asked why the stars sometimes seemed to flicker, their parents would tell them about the woman who answered cruelty with kindness, violence with patience, and genocide with the most beautiful explosion the universe had ever seen. Her smile, they said, had lit up the galaxy.